And a very, very warm welcome to everyone here. So my name is Christiane Wolf, and I'm a senior teacher at InsightLA, and I actually have the great, great pleasure today to introduce my friend, colleague, teacher, and mentor, Trudy Goodman. And I also want to invite all InsightLA teachers, board members, and staff members to raise their hand and wave, or like press the little emoji of just like the hand raising, and just everybody, can you just like scroll through, just like we have a lot of teachers, a lot of our amazing staff and amazing board here. So like we are, yeah, so we're all here. You see everybody, Trudy?
Yes, I was just telling Ann Buck to keep waving.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I saw Ann when I was scrolling through earlier too. Yeah. So, and we already said, so if you want to share something with Trudy, please put that in the chat box. We will save that and share that with Trudy later. And so I want to start with really addressing kind of the elephant in the room. So when we planned this, we had no idea where we would be in this time of life in this country at this point. And this celebration has been planned actually for several months. And Trudy offered her birthday as a way to bring some of her old buddies together, which you will see and hear later, and to offer her the occasion of her 75th birthday as a way also to fundraise for InsightLA. So InsightLA, of course, as many organizations, had to go completely online, and we do need to fundraise in order to keep our doors, our virtual doors right now, open and to keep our staff employed. And then what happened was, over these last few weeks, the public, we all became aware of the killings of Ahmaud Arbery, of Breonna Taylor, and of George Floyd. And it seemed that America, in particular white America, finally seemed to wake up to the truth of what has been in Black and brown people's faces for centuries. And this is a huge moment in history, and we're right in the middle of it. So, of course, you can imagine we had a lot of discussions about whether we would go forward with this or not. Would we cancel? Would we postpone? And then on top of everything, George Floyd's memorial service was today. I mean, like, what, again, it's just like, wow, to hold the magnificent, not the magnificence, the bigness of all of this is actually quite hard and really painful to be in. So in the end, we decided to move forward and to not only raise funds for our Insight in Action program, but also for Black Lives Matter, so that we share our coming here together with the Black community, and also to keep our Insight in Action really be an agent of change. So it is not just about meditation and sitting on the cushion. And one of our guests here, Jon Kabat-Zinn, actually wrote a bestseller with the title Full Catastrophe Living. I know many of you have read that book, and it really connects the dots between not just sitting on a cushion, but to use our mindfulness and compassion practice to really to show up for the full catastrophe, which is our life inside and outside and what's happening in the world. And the Chinese proverb that calls us to be with the 10,000 sorrows and the 10,000 joys of life. And in that spirit, we decided to move forward with this, because today actually is Trudy's birthday. So this is not just a random date, but it is today is her birthday. And so here we are, and we'll hear more about this. So Trudy, I know that you're a beloved and respected teacher by so many, many people. And Trudy's husband, Jack, just left the room. So hello, Jack.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
He'll be back. I know. So Trudy started practicing in her 20s in the Zen and Vipassana tradition, and actually together with some of our invited teachers here. So they have been going back for that many years, for that long. And then Trudy became a psychotherapist and a Zen teacher, and has really been weaving these two strands of working with our hearts and minds together ever since, which always was one of the big draws for me, to bring these two together. And then actually quite late in life, if I may say so, so around the time when I first met her, she moved her teachings more into the Vipassana tradition. And so I have known Trudy since my husband and then 5-month-old daughter moved to Los Angeles in 2003. And just a few months after Trudy founded InsightLA. And I needed a Sangha to keep practicing and to live in a foreign country and to be completely out of my league with being a new mom. And I immediately connected with Trudy and the fact that she, like me, was a working mom who loved practice and the Dharma. So in my previous Sangha in Germany, people like me with a full-time job, with a relationship, with one or more children, were a little looked down as second-class practitioners. And pretty much all teachers in leading positions were male. And so to meet Trudy was a huge relief for me. And I will tell you a story about Trudy and how she sees people, or how she saw me. So when I first got to know Trudy, I became one of the people who would support whatever the Sangha needed. So when Trudy was teaching, I would just bring cushions, I would run errands, I was cooking for the retreats that she was teaching. And then one day, after one of our then actually daily beach sittings that we had in the morning, she took me aside and she said, Christiana, what you're doing for InsightLA is like driving a Mercedes to the mailbox. You need to start teaching. And then she asked me to sub for her. And that's how I actually started to become a teacher, which completely changed the trajectory of my life, professionally and otherwise. So one of Trudy's greatest gifts, as she has a way of truly seeing people and to see their potential. Oh, I'm choking up, sorry. And I know many of you here have experienced this being loved and seen and validated by Trudy. And so Trudy, you've influenced and changed my life in so many ways. And I know that you will be my friend, my mentor, my teacher, and my colleague for the rest of my life. So happy, happy birthday to you, dear Trudy. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Christiana, for that beautiful introduction. And I do remember those early days, and I do remember how essential your help and support have been, well, all along the way, but especially in the early days, because you were kind of the first one. So hello, everybody, and thank you for your birthday wishes, and thank you for coming to be here with us, all of us together. It's quite astonishing and gratifying and makes me very happy on what is also a sad day. And it's true, you know, our city and our country are going through a pretty traumatic transformation. It's a dramatic change. There's first came it seemed from one night to the next, the shutting down of everything and being sheltered for months in a scary pandemic where we're suddenly, you know, recoiling from other people and not touching each other anymore. And that was hard. That is still hard. And then we all witnessed this cold-blooded, terrifyingly calm murder of yet another Black person by the police in front of our very eyes. And I want to offer a bow of thanks to a young woman named Darnella Frazier, only 17 years old, who had the presence of mind and the steadiness of hand and heart to shoot a 10-minute video that never left Mr. Floyd's face as he lay dying. Today I watched the funeral that celebrated the goodness of George Floyd's life, mourning with his family, and saying on national television what Black communities and activists have been saying for decades. That this is not, these are not disconnected random killings, that the pattern of police killings is part of an entrenched system where the roots of white supremacy sink deep into every dimension of life in America. For me as a mother, a grandmother, my heart was ripped open when I heard that he was calling for his mama as he died, that Mr. Floyd's mama had died 2 years before, but in his desperation, he called out for her. And as a speaker whose name I apologize I didn't get at the funeral today said, when he called out for his mama, all us mamas came running. All the mamas of the world have come running. And the mamas and the papas and all the members of the human family from all over the world are pouring out in this pandemic to come running, peacefully demonstrating because Black lives matter. Reverend Sharpton pointed out that Mr. Floyd was just a regular guy, so everybody can identify with him. He wasn't specially this or that. And so all around the world, people are saying that, yes, all Black lives matter, not just privileged Black lives or famous Black lives, all Black lives matter. And of course, all lives matter. There was a poster, the copy that I have, it was so tiny that we couldn't show it to you, but I'll describe it to you. It shows a little Black girl with very beautiful fuzzy ponytails and her pink sunglasses up on her head, holding a big poster almost as tall as she is. And it says on her poster, and she's backlit with the sun, it's a beautiful picture. It says, "We said Black Lives Matter. We never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives matter. We just need your help with hashtag Black Lives Matter, for Black lives are in danger." And as a righteously angry woman said in a video that somebody sent to me, she was shouting, it was on John Oliver. She said, "We are lucky that what Black people are looking for is equality and justice and not revenge." And so may his death and all of these deaths, not be in vain. Our meditation practice is a great resource for helping us hold all these things that may be oppressing us. In a posture of dignity, receptivity, open-heartedness, and balance. Because sometimes all the loss and grief and stress, even with meditation, it makes my energy very nervous. I was very nervous today. This was a nervous birthday. And I suspect it makes you nervous too, because we don't know what's to come. And that outer uncertainty is mirrored in our inner lives. And I find myself in a great transition too. The world I used to know, the world you used to know is no longer. And in the midst of all of this, a 75th birthday is a big shift. And up until now, I've been a rather, I would say, accelerated active leader, because I moved here and started InsightLA very late in life. I was already, 56, 57, I don't remember exactly, but I needed to create what I needed in the life that I came here to have. It was for family reasons that I came. But I had found in my young life a way to express myself safely in meditation and to learn more deeply who I am. And in meditation, I found a unity of self-compassion and compassion for others and the world that just arose naturally from the work on ourselves that we were doing in meditation and also in psychotherapy, I must add, because I needed that too. But when life brought me here to LA, I knew that what I was longing for here, you were probably longing for too. I needed, excuse me. What I passionately wanted was to create a community where, through the teachings of the Buddhist wisdom, the teachings of wisdom and compassion and love, that we could access, all of us, and radiate our love. I needed a community where, and I wanted to create a container and a safe community where we could all express ourselves in the various, wild ways that we might be drawn or called to do. And together we have created a community where this creative freedom exists every day as a living possibility for each of us. And we are extending that community, hopefully more and more every day, so that more and more people can feel safe and welcome here. I've done an enormous amount of work to come to the point where InsightLA is held by an increasingly diverse and dedicated board of directors, a devoted and tireless team, a loving and talented group of teachers, and I thank you all with all my heart. Whatever cracks or conflicts or fissures crop up in our organization are actually a reflection very much aligned with what's happening in the world. Organizations and communities have the same issues as individuals, and how we work with them as they arise is by inspiring each other to see how we could change in a way that is in the highest interests of whatever situation we are in. And the one of this moment is very intense. And so that we can move in the direction of our integrity, of our wholeness. And what worked for us in the past, worked for us in the past. And now we're in brand new territory with brand new ways we have to figure out how to do things that we used to take for granted. But what InsightLA can offer is a place for you, for all of us, to catch our breath and be supported so that we can find ways to contribute our love to this world. I think of it like, I've never really watched boxing or wrestling very much, but at all. But you see those images of the fighter in the ring, and then there's that person in the corner who, when they have a break, that the fighter goes back into the corner and they towel them off and they put, ice on their bruises and they kind of refresh them so they're ready to go back in the ring and fight. And I feel like that's the role of a meditation center, that we are there to towel you off and, put Band-Aids on the cuts and get ready to go out into the world again in whatever way we are expressing our love. And when I say Band-Aid on the cuts, I don't mean a Band-Aid on what's happening. We want to deeply look at what's happening and move this community in the way that is best and in the highest interests of everyone. This will create new programming and just new things that we don't even know yet. But we have been, and I am confident that we will continue to be at the forefront of this leadership. And the issues that we have, the shortcomings and that we do have, and the mistakes we make, all of this is a blessing because we can use this as a way to grow and learn some more. So this is why I created InsightLA, and this is my hope for the future. And again, it's not to, put a Band-Aid on anything. but to help us with our inner strength and determination and inspiration that we have with and for each other, to rebuild the foundation so that we can be part of creating an entirely new kind of society. So what I would like to do now, thank you for listening to all that. What I would like to do now is to meditate together. So I want to invite you to find a comfortable sitting posture, however you like to sit. And to either close your eyes or let them look down so that, you know, you're not distracted by the wish to scroll through the pages and see who's here, which I certainly will do when I get a chance. But for now, we're going to go within and just take a deep breath in and release. Breathing in the aliveness of this moment. And breathing out any tension that we may be holding in the body, in our hearts. And one more time, breathing in this breath of inspiration and breathing out the calming, releasing, relaxing breath of exhalation. And I would like to offer some phrases, some loving kindness phrases that we can offer to ourselves. We can offer to groups of people. We can offer to our world. But I will say them beginning with ourselves, because this is where we all start. It's very personal. And that's where we find the connection to each other. So I'm going to offer these phrases and invite you to quietly, silently repeat them to yourself and to listen to what you're saying and to see if you can mean it as you say it. May I be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May I be safe. May I live with the ease of an open heart. May I be truly happy and deeply peaceful. May I be healthy and strong so I can hold what's happening in my heart. May my heart be steady through the ups and downs of life. And may I have the inner and outer resources I need to be a blessing in this life. May I appreciate this life completely, just as it is. May I have the courage and strength to change my life when it's needed. And may I love myself completely, just the way I am. And we can offer simple phrases to all beings everywhere, to a particular group of beings, to a friend you know who may be having a especially hard time today. May you be safe. May you be well. May you live free from worries with ease. And may you be deeply peaceful. May we and all beings learn to hold all these opposites in our hearts, the joy and sorrow, the love and hate, the kindness and anger, the full catastrophe. May we grow our capacity to hold it all in our hearts, and may it strengthen us. I'm reminded of the Rastafarian anthem that we loved in the 70s, Jimmy Cliff's song, By the Rivers of Babylon. Babylon is any oppressive system preventing people from feeling safe and free. By the rivers of Babylon, by the rivers of our experience, where we sit down and weep. May we and all beings have the steadiness and courage to face this moment of our history and ourselves. May the words of our mouths, may the meditations of our hearts be received, be acceptable, be good enough to sustain us on what Nelson Mandela called this long walk to freedom. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for this practice together. I needed that. Really, deeply, thank you. And now I want to introduce the man I call my amado esposo, Jack Kornfield, my beloved husband. We're going to trade places for a few minutes so he can talk to you.
Thank you, dear Trudy. And thank you, Christiana and Mark. I just loved listening to you, Christiana, and your remembering and honoring of Trudy. And of course, I love listening to Trudy. I feel enormously fortunate to be married to one of the most wonderful women in the entire world. And her granddaughter, when her granddaughter was in elementary school, probably like in first or second grade, they had an assignment about the future president. Now, at this moment, we might actually be thinking about that, but that's a whole other conversation that we could have. And so they were given a form, which I'll show you, or kind of a square, and at top it said, a future president, draw a picture of a person you think would make a good president, and then underneath write, why would this person make a good president? So here it is. Here's the sign, if you can see it. And there's a picture of a smiling face with all that hair coming down. And why would you think this person would make a good president? Right. I think that my grandma, she's just good for you. And that's the assessment of Trudy Goodman's life right there. She's just good for you. And I certainly feel that blessing, but all of you in, parts of Trudy's life in InsightLA know her. She's deep and she's funny and she's got a profound Dharma understanding, and she's playful and beautiful and wildly spirited and really smart, except for those occasional moments where I'll look at her teasingly and say, and you went to Harvard? She's incredibly caring and has an enormous amount of energy and joie de vivre. And I think of one of the great French movie actresses, I'm not sure, maybe it was Jean Moreau or something, who said, I shall die young. And then she went on, I may be 95, but I shall die young. And that's what I see of Trudy. Here she is turning 75, and we look at each other, both turning 75, and say, wow, that's a serious number. But we feel so alive, and Trudy in particular is full of that life. She has this deep heart connection to children and to anyone who's suffering. And it moves her and it touches her. And I've seen her in so many situations just reach out. It's part of what created the whole community of InsightLA. And quite simply, I just love her. I adore her and I love her. And I thank you, Trudy. And actually that's written in the wedding band that she gave me. I love you, thank you. We say it to each other. And as a visionary, Trudy created InsightLA to spread the teachings that she found transformed her life and other people. And she'd learned them as an educator and a founder of schools, and as a Dharma teacher, and as a therapist, and as a mother, and as a social activist. And so InsightLA got founded to be a Buddhist center and a secular center, which was probably the first in the country or the world, and a whole component of insight and action, which works in the VA and in homeless shelters and for, women on the border and in children's hospital and all the different ways that it tends in the community, and a deep commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and Black Lives Matter, as you can hear tonight. All of that woven in, and not just for the individual freedom, but the deep understanding that Trudy brings that goes thousands of years back in every indigenous culture and very much a part of the Buddhist world, that it is the Sangha and the community that is much the field of practice as the field of one's own body and mind. And that community means the community of the society in which we live. And she's made that as much a part of what InsightLA is as anything else. And it's touched everyone's heart because we feel each other being in this together. Today, many of us watched the memorial for George Floyd with tears in our eyes and heartbreak, because we live in a culture that's still like apartheid South Africa, where if you are born as a child with black or brown skin, especially in an area of poverty, the likelihood is that you'll end up on a bus taking you to our prison system. Just as if we were in Nazi Germany and there were trains taking people to concentration camps, I have to ask myself, am I complicit in this system, in this whole structural system? We're in the middle of 3 crises. We're in a health crisis, we're in an economic crisis, but most profoundly, we're in a moral crisis. We were in a moral crisis before George Floyd was so brutally murdered. We're in the moral crisis of the fact that a huge part of who we are as a society doesn't have health care, that the virus, it's not everybody's in the same boat. Some people are in yachts and some are in rowboats and some are hanging on to a piece of driftwood. And it's all been highlighted. We're in a moral crisis to decide what kind of a people we are as human beings on this particular land, on Turtle Island, that came again through the native genocide, along with the enslavement of people. And maybe we need, I seriously pray and believe that we need a national truth and reconciliation process where we tell the truth about what happened and we really all own it together so that we can move forward in a different way. And InsightLA stands for all this. We know anybody who can look clearly sees that no amount of wealth and no amount of technology, smartphones and computers and space technology and nanotechnology and biotechnology are going to stop continuing racism, continuing warfare, continuing tribalism, continuing climate destruction. Because these are all rooted in the human heart. And so the inner and the outer have to be married together. We have to learn in ourselves to steady our hearts, to free ourselves from ignorance and grasping and prejudice and confusion and fear, to become awake, to remember who we really are, which is the consciousness that was born into this body, which is the loving awareness that's who you are, not limited by the culture or your parents or the ideas. You were born with a fundamental dignity and nobility, say the Buddhist text. So nobly born, remember who you are and remember who those around you are. And this is part of what InsightLA offers. It offers the inner support to transform ourselves and the tools. And then, like breathing in and breathing out, we get up and reach our hands out and mend the world with our gifts and our abilities. We ask the very simple question, after we quiet the mind, steady the heart, free ourselves from ignorance and blindness and racism and fear as much as we can. We ask a very simple question. What would love have me do today? That's the question. And you may have a to-do list, and on it are things about food, clothing, shelter, family, sleep, sex, all those good things. Maybe you should put justice on your to-do list. Maybe we should all do it and put it near the top, like food, shelter, justice, followed by other things. And if you want a hint, you can look on the InsightLA social media sites where there's a list of 75 things white people can do. And you can pick 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 of them. And if you feel guilt or shame because of your privilege, because you were born white, or you were born in a privileged situation. This is what's given to you. And what you have to understand is you have an assignment. That's partly why we were given the privilege that we have. The assignment is to use it in this time and to use it beautifully. As a bodhisattva, that is a being who's committed to alleviating suffering wherever we find it. The task is to steady your gaze, even as you allow your heart to be touched, to quiet your mind, and to make a vow. In some way, the Dalai Lama wakes up and he says, may I be a boat, a bridge, a raft across the flood to help others cross the flood. May I be medicine for the sick. May I be food for the hungry. May I be a resting place for the weary. May I be a lamp for those in the darkness. And may I do so as long as galaxies and stars and universes exist, until we all awaken our hearts and our freedom together. Some little vow like that, you know, or Diane Ackerman in the name of daybreak and the eyelids of morning and the wayfaring moon and the night when it departs. I swear I will not dishonor my soul with hatred, but offer myself humbly as a guardian of nature, a messenger of wonder, a healer of misery, and an architect of peace. So we quiet our minds and tend and steady our hearts and open them. And then we each have to make our vow. Let's just take a minute to be quiet and reflect. If you were to set the compass of your heart this very day, and I can say for myself, in honor of all that InsightLA has done and stood for, and the work of Trudy Goodman, and the work of so many people who've helped her, and the work of so many of you whose faces I see in little squares on my screen. Let us get quiet. And in the honor of all this, what vow would we take? And it can be very simple. It doesn't have to be a long poem. It might be as simple as I vow to be kind. And I want to take a vow. I've taken a vow to never teach without mentioning racism, and done that for many years now. But I want to take a vow myself to look in the eyes of children who are born in brown and black colored bodies, of little children, and say, I want to invite them into a world which is safe and loving and blessed, and sees the beauty, the secret beauty in every one of them. That's what I want to work for and be a part of. And that's the world I want to live in. And I believe that the work of InsightLA and the work of all of us with good hearts share this. And I thank you for joining together in this spirit. Happy birthday, Trudy, dear. I love you.
Thank you, Jack. I love you.
And now it's time for either you or I to introduce John. I think it should be you.
Okay. So I want to, it's my great pleasure. That's what you say, but it's really true. It's my great pleasure. It's my great joy to introduce John Kabat-Zinn. John is my oldest friend, not in years, but in length of time. Actually, I have one other friend I knew from nursery school, but that was really because our parents stayed friends. John and I made friends when we were teenagers. I was 14, he was 15. Our dads worked together as scientific researchers, and we we have really treasured and valued our friendship over all these years. And so you mean the world to me, John, and I want to turn it over to you right now. If I'm sure you all know John, and if you don't, you can Google and find out his massive credentials later. I mean, really, pages and pages of beautiful things that he's done in the world. But here he is.
Well, happy birthday, Trudy. You know, the horror of the world that we're in and the various kinds of crises that we're faced with should not really temper the beauty. I mean, that's one of the challenges that I think Jack was pointing to in his gorgeous remarks, and you in your remarks, and Christiana in hers, that, you know, this is a really unique moment of opportunity here. And for all the sorrow and the pain and the sadness, there's also an illumination, stuff that things are right in our face in a way, for white people especially, that, you know, it was really easy to weasel out of in the late 60s and early 70s, and then have it basically disappear for 50 years. And now it's back. And it's back big time, and it cannot be turned away from. The world is somehow different. The fact that it's happening in the midst of this pandemic, the world will never be the same. And it's our responsibility, as I think all of us have agreed, to make sure that not only the world will never be the same, but we are going to do everything we can to shape it in a way that optimizes the well-being of all and reconfigures our fundamental agreement about our democracy and our planet in ways that maximize well-being for all, and ensure that the laws actually support that fully and minimize harm. The harm that not just they are capable of, but all of us are also capable of. And when we recognize that, then we have at least a snowball's chance in hell on this planet in the next 50 years, if we have 50 years, so maybe the next 3 or 4 or 5, or even 1, to align ourselves with what's deepest and best in all of us as the human race that we are at a very critical moment in time. So we need to celebrate your birthday, and happy birthday. I mean, it's really phenomenal. And yes, I have known you since you were 14 years old. And so I can honestly say that the arc of your life has been incredibly interesting and flourishing. I mean, a continual arc of growing understanding and embodiment of beauty and kindness in a way that is really fun for me as a kind of spectator to see. And I know a little bit about how much you yourself have been through in terms of the suffering aspect of life. And so I really want to celebrate the joyful aspects of life that have come to you in many different forms, including the form of Jack, in, you know, later in life, but not too late. And so I think this is, again, all of our challenge is to not get lost in self-righteousness or dualisms of any kind, where we contract around our anger and the indignity of injustice, and instead create a new world where we really do celebrate difference and understand the underlying humanity of all of us, because it's that diversity, it's that difference that is actually what's so interesting. Otherwise, the world would be, you know, an exceedingly monotonous dimension, and it's not monotonous or monochromous. Or it's really a beautiful world that we inhabit, and it's our responsibility to take care of it. Now, when it comes to birthdays, you know, nobody knows how long we have. So mindfulness is not kind of a kind of luxury. It's an absolute necessity. The Dharma is an absolute necessity in order to thread the challenges that we're facing as a species in terms of global warming, you know, justice, racism, all of these shadow elements that can so easily go into abeyance, and we think we've got it done. Police brutality, and the unions that support that kind of thing so that it can never actually be penetrated. And you have to have orthogonal solutions like, hey, dissolve the police. That'll take care of the unions. And then something else come up. I don't know if that's viable or not, but those are the kinds of interesting approaches that we need, out of the box approaches that we really need to begin exploring. And that is all the curriculum of the Dharma, of mindfulness. And we need each other for that. And this will be the last thing I say. And that is that, you know, implicit bias and also to research along those lines show us that we have no idea what we really don't know and don't know we know. So we need each other as mirrors to mirror back to us, not just on the cushion ourselves, seeing what it is that we can see, but we need the relationality of each other and of our friendliness among all people to actually mirror back for us where we contract, where we're holding, where we're so blind we don't even know that we're blind. And that's as much a part of the curriculum of meditation and mindfulness and the cultivation of wisdom and compassion as anything else. And what we're seeing in the world now is a complete, I would say, potential renaissance of wakefulness that's not a kind of romantic sort of fairy tale, but an absolute necessity if we're going to make it on this planet and not fall into a dystopian darkness that is truly unimaginable, but we're seeing how easily it could actually happen, and we're the only thing that stands between that and love itself. And so we have to be that love. And I really love how you've given with your community, have birthed and nurtured InsightLA through thick and thin over the years, and the commitment that you've had from the very beginning to social transformation and healing, as well as individual transformation and healing. So happy birthday, Trudy. And it's a real honor for me to be part of this program. And because of the lateness of the hour and other things that that I have to get done tonight, I will not be here for the entire duration. So at some point, I will simply, like Frodo, put on my ring and disappear.
Thank you so much for being here, John, and I'm just overjoyed. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. My heart very touched, very open, and just happy you could be here at all, because I know it's 3 hours later. And speaking of 3 hours later, yeah, we're going to have, yeah, thank you. We're going to have a video message, a montage that Mark created from videos that other teacher friends and my grandkids sent in. I have not seen this. And after the video, we will have another East Coast teacher, George Mumford, join us. Oh.
Happy birthday, dearest Trudy. I love you so, so much. Just blessings and love. I miss you. I miss you. I love you.
Hi, everyone. Chris Germer here. Happy birthday, Trudy. I'm standing at the intersection of Sherman and Walnut Streets, and behind me is the hardware store.
Oh my God.
Trudy used to live right here at this corner above the hardware store. And I've known Trudy since 1985, mainly through the Institute for Meditation and Psychotherapy, which she founded, and also was the guiding teacher, remains to this day the guiding teacher.
Today we're here to celebrate the 75th anniversary of our very, very, very dear friend, colleague, Bodhisattva sister, Satsang, goodbye, Trudy the beauty, Trudla the Butala. I've known Trudy a long time. We've done a lot of things together. We've run a lot of gongs. We've racked up a lot of sitting points, if that means anything. I don't know. We'll see.
Hi, Nini. Happy birthday. You're 75. OMG, you're so old. Just kidding. You're not that old. But I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday and tell you that you were literally the coolest grandma alive. I can't tell you how many times my friends have been like, I'm so jealous of your grandma. And I've been like, I know she is really the best.
I'm Susan Kaiser Greenland, and I've known Trudy for a long time. We met when she came to LA, and we were both regulars in Ken McLeod's sitting group.
Hello, this is Anam Tatan. I've known Trudy Goodman for many years. I found that she's an extraordinary human being with such huge heart and wisdom. Her friendship has been a blessing and amazing gift to me.
I can tell you, when we came to LA Dharma here, nobody else could hang out in LA. There was nobody else who could start a Dharma center in LA. Many people had tried, all had failed. But Trudy came, she had a determination, she had a grit, she had a passion, she had a vision, and she stuck with it. And when she did, and she started to have success, other people came in too. And so then she had some competition, and she was a little like Henny Penny, the one who was making the groundwork so that all of us could grow Dharma here in Los Angeles.
You know, that's so funny you should ask. My first memory of Trudy Goodman was meeting her at a wedding in Toronto about 13, 14 years ago. She was cutting it up on a dance floor with the 5-year-old, and I thought, who's that? That's Trudy Goodman, and you want to know what, ladies? It's her birthday today. So shall we wish her a happy birthday?
75, woohoo! Yeah, hi Nini, your grandson here. I'm just here to wish you a happy 75th. Feels like it's your 25th, but somehow I guess the math got mixed up. But anyways, I just want to wish you a really special birthday. I mean, I can't go in depth enough about how much that you've done for me and how big a part of my life you've been. I mean, from playing in the pool with me when I was 3 to pretty much watching me grow up and then teaching me how to drive, and just it's like really being passionate about me, really passionate about my interests. I mean, you've just completely inspired me to be the person I am today, and I can't thank you enough for that.
I know that I can count on you literally 24/7, and I FaceTime you all the time, and you usually pick up, unless you're teaching in a foreign country or you're meditating. And considering your profession, that does happen quite often, but you always find a way to talk to me, and I am so grateful for that.
Trudy has hearts and smart. She's a beautiful being. She's humble. She's studied with many teachers. She's practiced with many teachers. She's well experienced as a mother, grandmother, child psychologist, psychotherapist. Vipassana teacher, mindfulness and loving kindness teacher, Zen practitioner. She's done Tibetan practices and yoga also. Trudy's a very well-rounded person, a mensch, which is so important today, a bodhisattva, a spiritual awakener, somebody who brings light rather than blight into this benighted world. I love you, Trudy. Long life.
I've also watched Trudi over years nurture InsightLA and go through periods when most other reasonable people would have said, I've done my bit, that's enough, and okay, I've done my service and it's time to move on and let somebody else do this hard work. But she hasn't, she's stuck with it. It's her grit, it's her determination, and it's all of that that makes me very happy at this time when the world is in so many ways falling apart. That InsightLA, which very much started with Trudi and has been carried forward by so many, is here where we can do what we need to do during this time, which is to collaborate, which is to listen to one another, which is to learn from one another, and to be able to welcome all feelings.
Whenever I think of her, I think of fun. For example, jet skiing in Florida. I also think of her fierce commitment to ethics. She's been one of the first to speak out when some of our Dharma brothers and sisters have needed a nudge. Also, kind of her crazy candor. You never know what's going to come out of Trudy's mouth. Mostly, I appreciate her non-judgment. For many years, I was taking a long journey through bhakti yoga, which a lot of my friends didn't quite understand, but Trudi just had a whole lot of faith and stuck by me, and that's really a precious gift which has sustained me in many ways that Trudy even is not aware of.
A happy birthday to you, Trudy Goodman. I wish you live long and continues to have a good health and enjoy everything that you want to do. Yeah, really, really happy to have you as a friend. You're such an amazing being. Much love. Happy birthday.
You mean the world to me. I mean, I cannot emphasize how much I care about you, and I really appreciate everything you've done for me. Let me see if I can think. My favorite all-time memory of you, Nini, is when we were in the car, and I would think I just turned like 9 or something. We were with Allie and Jack, and I just learned a really bad word. I forgot what word it was, but besides the point. And I said to my dad got really, really mad at me. Very mad at me. Like, told me, like, this is not an okay word. Like, you cannot say this. And then I remember I get in the car and I say the word. And you go, Owen. And I go, oh, I know I can't say it. I'm sorry. I just learned it. And then you go, no, this is great. You can curse whatever you want in this car. I'm your grandmother. And that was probably the most relieving thing I've ever heard. And just having you as my grandmother, someone I can just go to and nothing is out of reach and nothing is off limits. And it's just amazing. And you really inspired me to be the person I am today. And I love you so much. And I'm sorry this can't happen. I mean, I'm sorry I can't see you right now. But you should know that once this is over, I'll definitely be seeing you. And I'll definitely be driving you now eventually. But I love you so much and have a great day.
Happy birthday, Trudy. We love you so much. Thank you so much for being in our lives, for being exactly who you are, for being the founder of InsightLA, for being such a wonderful teacher. We celebrate you. And, oh, wait. We celebrate you. Happy birthday. And all the chickens wish you happy birthday.
Cheers. You're just the coolest person, and I love you so, so much, and happy birthday, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Hi, Trudy.
Hi, Trudy.
We're really happy to be able to convey these birthday wishes to you. And also, we really admire that you made a pivot and embraced what's going on in our broken world. We very much respect that, and also believe that we can hold all of this. We can hold our celebration of you and for you, as well as the institutionalized racism and all of the things really in our world that need change.
It reminds us of what the Dalai Lama once said when we were there in Freiburg, Germany with him. Someone asked him, how can you laugh so much and have so much joy when there's so much suffering in the world? What's wrong with you? The questioner asked. And the Dalai Lama, without skipping a beat, took a deep breath and looked at the person and said, it's not in spite of the suffering in the world. It's actually because the suffering is there that we need to have the responsibility to be filled with joy, to not let the suffering win. And that's why he said he was filled with laughter and joy. And we can say the same thing, that we're filled with joy about your birthday. We can hold the sorrow of all the pains and suffering in the world. Do what we can to be present for that and to do actions that are skillful ways of reducing that suffering. And at the same time say to you, Trudy, we love you.
And one more thing.
Yes.
Not to forget the beach and the Ferris wheel and the sunsets.
All beautiful signs of how wonderful life can be. And being in life with you makes it truly wonderful. Happy birthday, Trudy.
Happy birthday.
We love you.
Wow, thank you, Mark. That is so beautiful. Thank you. Mark is our director, but he's also, as you can see, a video producer. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. That was actually, Cameron did that for us today, so thank Cameron.
Well, thank you, Cameron. Thank you so much. If Cameron, if you're here, you've done it again. Your beautiful work. Thank you. And now I want to introduce another really old friend from the East Coast. Not that he's old in years, but that we've known each other about 40 years, which is a pretty long time. Some of you listening probably haven't even reached that birthday, but my friend George Mumford has been a friend to me, a friend to my grandkids. He is magic with children of all ages, including adults. And I love you so much, George, and I thank you so much for coming and being here. I treasure our friendship, and I love teaching with you. And yeah, turn it over to you, George. Mwah.
So happy birthday, Trudy, and I want to acknowledge the 586 Buddhas or Kuan Yins or masterpieces that are on this call, and a bunch of old friends. In this tradition, we don't call teachers friends, but I'll just get a shout out to obviously Trudy and Jack and John, and I think Sharon and Joseph are going to be on here, and there may be others that are going to be here in some form or fashion, as well as the teachers at InsightLA. I just want to honor everyone that's here, and it's a real honor for me to do a live sort of conversation with you, and there's so much to say in so little time, so I'm trying to time myself so I don't go over. But this is an interesting time, because I feel like, just from my own perspective, this is a day in the life. This is the way it's been most of my life. Seeing the suffering, but the thing that's different now that I feel, well, I'm going to be optimistic anyway, that's a choice. But I feel that the silent majority is waking up now, and they're starting to see things that have always been there. And even though this time of COVID and this time of economic and all of the crises we're dealing with right now, I feel like it's been on steroids and it's been uprooted and it's in our face. And so that may be the challenge, the bad news, but the good news is we get to do something about it. And so for me, I have had a lot of experiences with people, my sister dying, and obviously Kobe Bryant, childhood friends, and death is happening all the time. And obviously George Floyd, and seeing what happened. My message has been love, love, love. And I have a friend of mine, Dr. Kevin, and I had the good fortune 2 years ago going to this Indian reservation or Native American reservation, Fort Peck in Montana. And the name of his program is Love Has No Color. So he's been running this program in this reservation and donating, bringing stuff up there. And I think that's the message that I have for everyone is love has no color. And that love is an amazing thing for me because that's the only way we can conquer hate. That's the only way that I can keep going and have joy in my heart in spite of what's happening, because I believe in love. I believe in what the Buddha said, do good, avoid evil, and purify the mind and heart. So the challenge has been for me how to hold the hurt, because that's how I've been doing it all these years. And at the same time, how do I generate the hope? And the hope is, you know, we have masterpieces. We have been wired for success, and we have to figure out how to get beyond this illusion of separateness so that we understand I and the other are one. And it's interesting on this call, I might be in the old language. I might be the onlyest one on this call, or there's not too many that look like me on this call on the physical level, but on the soul level, on the spirit level, on the Buddha level, that's where I connect with people. So I don't feel alone. I don't feel like I'm the only one. And sometimes I forget that I'm a man or I'm a person of color, because that's not how I'm rolling. That's not how I relate to people. I relate to people heart to heart. And I think that's what we have to do. And I wanted to say one or two other things. So it's really about the practice of radical inclusion. And I'll just share one of my practices I learned from my mother and my older brother, is I go to a lot of stores and I go to CVS when I go out. And even when I was on the, even when I travel a lot, I'm just practicing love with everybody I see. I'm just relating to them heart to heart. Hey, how you doing? Trudy can tell you when I work with her grandchildren, they're sure they grow. I just get out there and I just talk to them soul to soul, and they get it. They get it. So no matter who I interact with, I meet them heart to heart. And to me, that's how we get through this. That's how I've been getting through it. And I have a lot of joy, a lot of peace in my heart. And at the same time, I'm not denying the hurt, but I'm not going to let the hurt me, if you will. I'm going to focus on what we can do and how to make this work. And so I'll just leave it at that. But I will also say that all those people like Trudi, especially, her unconditional love and all of my teachers and their willingness to accept me as I was, as I am, has been really instrumental in me being able to be able to live this life and to share these teachings. And so it's about relationship. It's about love now. And it's not about what I can bring or who I am. It's about connecting on the heart level. So I just want to say, Trudy, I love you to pieces. I love everyone on this call. And like I say, I don't necessarily, I see you as personalities, but I also see you as divine sparks. And I want to leave it at that. I love you all.
Love you too, George. Thank you so much. And I've watched you handle slights and indignities with so much grace, and always coming back to love and forgiveness. And you have been an amazing teacher and influence for me in my life. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, George. And now, what a lineup. My gosh, my heart is so full. I want to introduce Sharon Salzberg. Sharon has been a friend and a teacher. Well, I would say first a teacher, then a friend and colleague. And Sharon has been there for me in some of the really times when I've been at the bottom of my life. And she's always been there with her love and steadfastness. And for me personally, but then also for InsightLA, that the way that you've stepped in and supported us from the beginning was instrumental in our being able to become who we are today. So thank you, Sharon.
Thank you so much. It's so incredible to see everybody. I feel such joy. And I did get kind of jealous of George's fantastic background. And I had a few moments, I thought, I'm going to download a background. And then Zoom sent me to some thing saying, you have to download the new package. And I thought, I'm up next. That would be a big mistake. I'll end up somewhere and not able to get back. But when I first saw him, I thought, where is he? And I thought, no. It's not like that. So happy birthday, Trudy. Somebody sent me an email just a few hours ago saying at the age of 85, the Dalai Lama was going to put out his first music album. It's Mantra to Music, and his birthday is July 6th. So I thought, well, Trudy's only 75. We don't know what new manifestations and kind of creativity and bold new adventures may be forthcoming. Maybe your new album will come out, your first album. And I was thinking today about myself, and I was thinking, I am incredibly kind of attached to New Year's Eve. It's something that has meant something to me. Something about that sense of, okay, we can go forward now. We can have a new dream. We can have a sense of aspiration. We can, in IMS next door to me, we used to burn the pages of the calendar month by month, and we'd like hold it up like, oh, April, that was a bad month. Let's just toss it in the fire. And it was just a sense of cleansing and letting go. And I always said that I was lucky that I was a Jew, a Buddhist, and an American, because I got 3 a year of these chances just to have this sense of like, okay, everything can be possible now. And so I reflected back to how I was this last New Year's Eve, and I was so excited. I thought, 2020, how great is that? It was all those same feelings. And then it unfolded, and I was like, oh my God, and I also feel like through first the anxiety, and then the sorrow, and then the exhaustion of the pandemic, and then the horror and the anger and the exhaustion of everything that is happening now. And somehow in there, I sense always something unquenchable about human possibility and about the chance we have to actually find each other, as George said, to love each other, to live with wisdom, to live in a different way. And I was going to use the word undeniable, but I think it's quite deniable. But if we really look, it's undeniable that it's there, and that in a way this could be our moment to try to actualize it and make it real. And I think of Trudi in that light, just as a light, and admire so much the work you've done in LA. And I'm a very urban person, as we all know. And I'm not in New York City right now, but I love LA. And I was so delighted that you put down roots there, and that you created a refuge for so many kinds of people and for so many years, and that it exists in the form that it does, and that it's flourishing, and that it's so open to so much, both as a kind of steadfastness and as a bastion of change. And so really happy birthday, and may lots of bright futures, bright adventures be in your future. And really, congratulations.
Thank you, Sharon. I'd like to have lots of bright futures too.
Yeah, well, you probably will have bright futures. That's another thing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I just want to say to everybody, you know, I was there when Sharon was 23 years old giving her first Dharma talks, and she was good.
She was so scared.
Yes, she was scared, but it didn't show. We couldn't tell. We were very much looking up to you, even though we were older than you at that time. I was like 25 or 26 or 7, I don't know what. But anyway, thank you so much for being here and sharing your words of wisdom. And now, another wonderful teacher, colleague, friend. I want to introduce Joseph Goldstein. And, you know, Joseph also, along with Sharon, they really, I sat with you in the early days, in the 70s, when at the very beginning, you know, at the very beginning of IMS and everything. And it was wonderful, and I'm grateful. And then when I left what was then my home path of Zen and came back into the Vipassana fold, I remember sobbing in your house and saying, Joseph, I don't fit in anywhere. And you looked at me and you said, I think you fit in just fine here. It wasn't true, but it was so kind. And I'm so grateful, and I love you so much. So, Joseph.
Thank you, Trudy. Welcome to the 75 and older club. I've been in it now for a little more than a year, and it seems to be okay. Suzuki Roshi, somebody once asked him, why do we meditate? And he said, so we can be happy in old age. Old age is a kind of funny concept. It doesn't quite connect, but there it is. And maybe we're at the beginning of our old age. Sometimes when I think of the path of practice leading to enjoying old age, kind of the path of enlightenment, I frame it in my own mind as just a path of getting lighter. You know, getting lighter and lighter and taking ourselves more lightly, that we lighten up. But when I think back to when you first came to IMS and we first met, realized you were already pretty light right from the beginning. You know, you had that quality. And I remember one of the first retreats, it was a metta, doing loving kindness intensively. And this will not come as a surprise to anybody who knows Trudy, but in her practice, she was just, in doing the loving kindness, she was so filled with rapture and joy. When she would come in for a practice meeting, it was almost like we'd have to tie her down so she didn't float away on the rapture and the enthusiasm. And of course, that's the quality that you brought into your practice and brought into all the work you've done in the creation of LA Insight. And it's not only that quality of kind of enthusiasm, you know, or the bubbly joy. As anybody who's worked with an organization knows, it takes more than that to really nurture it. And there are just qualities that are needed of, first, tremendous patience and equanimity and balance and discernment. You know, so there's a real wisdom combined with it. And these are really the very qualities that are needed now in these times, you know, where there's so much suffering, and with the pandemic and the racial injustice and all the challenges facing us now. It's these very same qualities which you've cultivated for so long, which are of just such tremendous importance. And then when I think of the one quality that just stands out more than any of these, more than the rapture and more than the balance and more than the equanimity and the discernment, the quality that most stands out for me in you is your great big loving heart. It's like that's the first thing that comes to mind, you know, when I think of you, of just how open your heart is. And that, of course, is so needed so much now. And I was reflecting on this and the application or the implications of that. And I was thinking of compassion, you know, and how much compassion we need in the world now. and where it comes from. You know, what gives rise to compassion? And what gives rise to it is the willingness we have to come close to the suffering that's there. You know, if we avoid it or look away or deny it, then that really caps that wellspring of compassion within us. And then we're just going out following the patterns of our conditioning. But when there's a heart that's as open as yours, you know, so then you meet the world with that open heart and willing to come close to the suffering, that's when all this tremendous compassionate response can flower. There's one mantra of compassion, it's my favorite one. I find it just so powerful. And this mantra of compassion is, how can I help? Which was the title of a book by Ram Dass and Paul Gorman back in the, I don't know, 70s or 80s. But that title always resonated with me. And how can I help? And of course, in these times, to have that question alive within us, you know, so that we can come close to the suffering there and respond in whatever way we do, whatever way we're capable of or have the capacity for. If that mantra, how can I help, is living in us, it's going to manifest in so many beautiful ways. And not only in these times, I feel that that mantra of compassion is really a pole star for our lives. You know, it would be a beautiful way to live, to go through life with all the people we meet, all the situations we're in, just holding that question in our hearts. How can I help? And then when I think of you, Trudy, you are an exemplar of that. You so manifest that mantra of compassion, you know, with everything you do and with everyone you meet. And I thought just before the logging on, I had the thought, if we could contact trace everybody you've met in your life, I think we would find this multitude of blessings that has been your gift to everyone you've been with. So much love and happy birthday, and enjoy the beginning of your old age. We'll be doing this one together.
Thank you, Joseph. I was listening to you list these qualities and thinking, no, he's talking about somebody else. It can't be me.
No, it's you. It's you.
Thank you.
We could ask everybody on this screen.
That is so kind of you. Thank you so very much. It's kind of amazing to hear. I mean, I don't know how I can take this all in, but take a deep breath and take it in and just be so grateful. Thank you so much. I love you, Joseph.
Likewise.
I always sign my letters to Joseph, love, metta love, and Joseph always says, with metta, with metta.
We do have different styles, Trudy.
We do. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joseph. So now we have a message from Tara Brach. Tara was a kind of advisor to me early days of InsightLA because her organization in Washington was about 14 years older and ahead of us. And honestly, there would be moments when I would just be freaking out and thinking, I don't know really what to do. This is overwhelming. And I would call Tara and she would just be very calm and very loving the way she always is. And she would say things like, just be sure you don't embark on anything without first having all the people there to help you. It was great advice, but I didn't know how to implement it for quite some time. Anyway, Tara helped me at several junctures, and she wanted to be here tonight, but the lateness of the hour. She gets up at 5 every morning and goes to bed at 9. And so she has sent a video message that we want to show now.
Greetings, friends, and birthday blessings, Trudy, dear sister, friend, teaching colleague. As those listening know, this birthday celebration of our beloved Trudy has been focused on how we might respond to our current times with all the suffering of racial violence, so filled with the suffering of those most vulnerable. And it's characteristic to me that InsightLA and Trudy as founder would have this front and center, because InsightLA has been way ahead of the curve with a crucial understanding for our times, which is living a spiritual life can't be separated from compassion-based activism. My hope for our world comes from the sense that our deepest nature is loving awareness, and our caring is waking up. It's growing wider and more inclusive and deeper as a species. And as you might be thinking in your mind, no question, our fear keeps us armored. It keeps us cut off from others and dangerous. But the armoring is pierceable. And as many might sense, it's tragic that it took a visible and brutal lynching murder of George Floyd to pierce through the denial of so many. But perhaps trauma upon trauma over these last months readied us. A Black friend of mine in Washington was in Lafayette Square the day peaceful protesters were tear gassed and dispersed. Well, he returned the next day and he looked around, he was taking in the scene, and he told me he began crying. And it was because there were a majority of white protesters there. And he said that having them screaming Black Lives Matters, he said that made me feel more human. By participating this evening, you're showing you're caring. And these are times of facing the harsh societal realities, really the ones that we've been practicing for, really facing truth and responding. In a way, these are the times we've been praying for. These are the times, as one activist advises us, to put aside our caution and step forward. So we need to hold hands. We need to, out of the depths of our caring, respond and create the just and loving world that we believe in. I'd like to end with a short verse from Nicholas Maza. Hope is the belief that one hand reaching to another can eventually touch the moon, allowing the light to guide us through the night. Hope is the belief that one hand reaching to another can eventually touch the moon, allowing the light to guide us through the night. Thank you and bless you, Trudy. Thank you, InsightLA. Thank you for nurturing awakening, nurturing community, caring, and engagement with our hurting world. Namaste.
I know you can't hear me now, Tara, but I'm thanking you. And if you get to see this afterwards, I just want to thank you for your ever-present clarity and loving words. You're eloquent, unfailingly eloquent. And that eloquence is not, it's not just a disguise or something. It comes from the depths of your heart, and that's why it touches mine. So I want to really thank you for that. And I want to thank all the colleagues and everybody who spoke. And, it's true. Most of us, we are older. We are the generation that hopefully has accumulated a few little scraps of wisdom. We may not have the fire and the passion. That's the younger generation's job to carry that. I'm also very aware that a lot of us are white, and that's emblematic of the structures that we're looking at today and hoping to dismantle and create new ones. You know, this is something that is really necessary and very obvious to all of us here, I think. So my heart is so full. But I'm not nervous anymore. I just wanted to tell you that. I've been able to take this in and feel so much love and so much, well, tears, but tears of appreciation. And I want to appreciate, obviously, everybody at InsightLA who worked so hard, as well as the volunteers who worked hard. And I'm not going to name names because I'm afraid I'll forget somebody. But I want to thank my ancestors. I want to thank my parents. I want to thank all the beings on whose shoulders we stand. I love that expression because it's completely true. And now, I'm actually going to turn it over to Jack. I just feel so full, and I'm so grateful to all of you. Thank you. It really helps to have this much joy, to go back into the ring and face the suffering and do what we can to alleviate it. Love you all. Really, I do. Thank you.
So may I ask for your patience for a moment? You'll see why.
Wait, I want to see what you're doing. Oh.
Lighting the candles on Trudy's
Oh,
cake.
Jack is lighting the candles on the most scrumptious looking cake. I wish I could share it with you. I think it's a strawberry cheesecake, but the thing that makes me the happiest is it's got piles of frosting on it. And if you're like me, you like well, I like the frosting better than the cake. So I'm very excited about this cake, which you are gonna see in just a moment. I didn't choose it. It arrived here along with the flowers and balloons, and thank you to everybody who sent anything, including messages on the chat, which they're going, as you know, I'll get to see them later. So Jack.
Okay, just about ready. Almost.
Okay, he's almost ready.
It says on it.
What does it say on the cake, Jack?
Guess. You move out of the way, I'll show them.
Okay.
It says.
You have to bring it really close to the camera.
I'm going to tilt
Yeah,
it up.
you can tilt it. It'll just spill some sprinkles.
No, I don't want the cake to spill onto the floor. It says, "Happy birthday, Trudy. Your friends have gathered, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 right now, those on Facebook and those on Zoom. Some of your favorite colleagues and teachers of George and Anam Tupton and Joseph and Sharon and Tara and, you know, whoever I left out. We're all here to celebrate you because we love you. Yes, I know a strawberry fell off. It's okay.
No, I wanted to take a lick of frosting.
Oh, you want a lick? Okay, take a lick of frosting.
Oh,
there's time for it all to burn down, though. There's plenty of time. Okay. Go.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Birthday!
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Trudy!
Happy birthday, Trudy!
Birthday!
Birthday, Trudy! Thank you! Birthday!
Happy birthday, Trudy!
Happy birthday!
Happy Miss Trudy! Happy birthday! Happy birthday, Miss Trudy! Happy birthday, Trudy!
Happy birthday, Trudy!
Happy birthday, Trudy! Birthday!
No, I can eat my pop-tart.
Have fun! Eat that frosting!
I got a message. Oh yeah, I'll eat more frosting.
I want some cake.
Eric Forbes. Watching your birthday celebration while in a Black Lives Matter march on Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood. And I thought, that's perfect. Thank you. That is perfect. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. Thank you for all your wishes. I feel like it should be like a wedding where you cut the cake and then you get to eat it right there in front of all your guests. But
You need to give them all a piece.
I know, but they could have like sympathetic, cake eating or something. I hope you will all have some cake or something sweet, something to sweeten your life, whatever it's like right now.
And I hope you carry the joyful spirit of my beloved Trudi and all the celebration that we had together, and the sense of community and your support, not just for InsightLA and Black Lives Matter, but your support for one another and your heartfelt support. This is just beautiful. And, by the time you're 85, Trudi, we'll be waiting for your music video. You and the Dalai Lama, you got to keep up with His Holiness. Her Holiness has to keep up with His Holiness.
Well, yeah, maybe. That could, listen,
It could happen.
I like Denise's band. My friend Denise Kaufman, who you saw playing the harmonica, has a band called the Ace of Cups. And I want to just tell you, their story is a beautiful story because they were the first white all-girl rock and roll band. There were plenty of Black female R&B bands, but they were the first rock and roll band, the first all-girl band, and they played in the 60s, and they were a huge part of the scene. They played with Jefferson Airplane, the whole hippie scene. They were played with all the Grateful Dead, all the great bands of that time. But unlike all their brother bands, they never got to make an album because, well, women just didn't get to do the same stuff as men in those days, and still sometimes. So their brother bands went on. They had, wives and girlfriends usually who took care of their children, but it didn't happen for Denise and her band. And then about 5 years ago, a rock and roll aficionado rediscovered some old tapes and a record that they had made, a little 45 that had been made. I don't think they even made it. It was years later. And decided, wow, they were pioneers and they need to be resurrected and funded. They're making an album. They've made, I think, 3 albums or 1 album with 3 CDs. I mean, it's beautiful. They've got Taj Mahal and Bob Weir and all these great musicians playing with them. So I want to give a shout out for the Ace of Cups.
And we got to go with them in Good Morning America. And there they were, the band, and there were images of them in the 1960s when they were all young. And now they're all in their 70s with their drums and their bass and their guitar, and they kick butt. They were just really wild and fantastic. So we're just beginning. The music, yes, the spirit and the good heart and the things that we care about to change this world.
And my father always said, he was kind of very youthful and strong, and he was healthy until actually he died very suddenly of a cerebral aneurysm, which can happen at any age. But when he always said, you're middle-aged until you turn 75. The implication being, once you turn 75, you're old. So, Allie, you're right. I am old now, as of today, officially old. And I have to tell you, all of you out there who might be thinking, oh my God, 75, this is a really good age to be. If you have some health and you have some love in your life, 75 is a wonderful age to be. You have that to look forward to, most of you. So I want to wish you all my happy birthday. I really am so happy to have shared it with you, to have given the actual birthday for us to all be together. And I can't thank you all enough, everybody. And I just don't know what else to say. I love you. I want to thank you for, yes, thank you for the inspiration to do InsightLA and to hang in there. And it's really only been because of you. I really sometimes felt I could have been doing a lot more pleasant things for a lot more money. But honestly, it's because of our community and the community that we created together and the love that is present in the community. And I want to just say again that whatever conflicts we have do mirror the conflicts in the world. And so they give us an opportunity to learn and to grow and to learn and grow some more as we work our way through them. And that's the power of hanging in there with each other. That's what community can be, where it's not perfect, we don't agree, and some of us may strongly disagree, but we're going to hang in there with each other. And that commitment is what makes us strong and able to continue to be in the front of responding to what's happening in our world, while we also take our seat and ground ourselves in the presence and love that is part of our own being and that we can always access, and that meditation shows us how. So thank you for your meditation. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for coming to sit together. And yeah, just thank you.
All right.
Happy birthday, Trudy.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Trudy.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Bye.
Happy birthday.
Birthday, Trudy.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Trudy.
Happy birthday.
Birthday.
Happy birthday. Care.
Oh my God, I love seeing
Lots of cake.
We love you. Love you.
I love you too. Hey, from Boston. Thanks for everything you've done.
Love you all.
Our family.
Love you.
We're very grateful for you. Teachings.
Oh my gosh, there's Eddie. Hi.
Bye.
Bye, Trudy.
Well, we can start.
Bye.
Bye, Trudy. Bye, Trudy.
Bye. Oh, there's
Bye, Trudy.
Butchie. Do you want to unmute yourself and say something? Know how to unmute, Joy. lower left-hand corner if you want to. That's okay.
Happy birthday, Trudy.
Happy birthday. I feel like it's everybody's birthday tonight that we get to share this together, really. Heather, hi. I'm just starting to see, as people sign off, like that's the, you know, the little squares rearrange, and then I can see Victoria, and then I can see Harvey, and then I can see, you know, I can see more and more of you. Did you get my text? Yeah. Did you get it? I'm just going to wait till the very last second so I can look at all of you.
But then we'll fight to see who's last.
But that's going on in our Oh, hi, Maggie and Tom. I see you.
Thanks so much, Trudy. Really appreciate it.
And there's Linda from China. Oh my gosh. I don't know what time it is.